All right, here we go. Let's start with a take, then I'll play the music. Team Canada will go farther in the Olympics than Team USA in men's basketball. Deal with it.
Yeah, yo, could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. Yeah. Posting like Kobe Bryant, yeah. Flying to see the pilot. Yeah. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jackies. He goes silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock. Ooh. Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo, partner, pass the rock, for real.
Any thoughts on that, Zach?
This is definitely one of the strongest Team Canada rosters we have seen probably ever. I think they definitely have a chance to compete with teams like Team USA, but I'm still going to give the edge to the red, white, and blue.
All right, Jesse, talk some sense into him.
You know where my heart's leaning. The Canada has probably the best squad we've ever had at any type of international competition. And I would not be surprised if Team Canada pulls off one of the greatest upsets, if not the greatest upset in Olympic basketball history.
I know I should be rooting for Team USA, being from the USA, but that's one I would just really like to see LeBron lose. Not out of hatred for LeBron specifically, but just because it would be such a shock. I don't know what this team would do. So we'll see. It'll be exciting in a couple of weeks here. So let's talk a little NBA free agency. Only one kind of major, semi-major move since we last talked, with DeMar DeRozan on a sign and trade going to the Kings. So here's the question. Does this do anything to improve the Kings' chances in the West, Zach?
I do not think that this moves the needle for me whatsoever. I don't think they're a top 6 team. I think the West is just too strong as is. And we saw some other teams improve. We're still waiting for some teams like the Grizzlies to get healthy. I don't think the Kings with DeMar DeRozan are a top 6 team whatsoever.
That's not the question. The question is, does this move, the DeRozan sign and trade, improve the Kings at all? That was bad. Does this move, the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade, does it improve the Kings' chances in the West, Jesse?
I think it improves their chances from like 0-10 to 1-10. So sure, it might improve their chances a little bit, but I don't think. I love DeMar, and I do think that their offense is going to be really, really good. They'll probably score a lot of points, but I still don't think that this puts them into real contention in the Western Conference. I think that they were the 9th seed last year. I would be surprised if they finished in the top half of the conference next year. So it's very competitive out there. And yes, getting DeMar over Harrison Barnes is an improvement to your lineup, but it's not a league-shaking or margin-moving improvement for the Kings.
I'll be honest. Once he got to Chicago, I kind of forgot he was in the NBA a little bit. I mean, obviously, I knew he was in the NBA, but averaging over 20 points was kind of amazing to me because you just don't see Chicago play many meaningful games. So this is a move the Kings, they had to make something. They were talking about going for Brandon Ingram. That doesn't seem to have worked out. Then I guess they moved on to DeRozan. They needed something a little more exciting than Harrison Barnes, who can be a quality player in spurts, but not over several games. So are they a top 6? Are the Sacramento Kings now a top 6 team in the West? Jesse?
I don't think so. I don't think the Kings are a top 6 team in the West. You still have the Thunder, Nuggets, Wolves, and Mavericks, clearly the top 4 teams in the West. And then you throw in either the Suns, the Pelicans. I think that they're going to be great with Murray next year. Then you have the Lakers, Clippers, Warriors. Don't forget about the Grizzlies. I just think that there's way too many good teams for them to be top 6. The Kings will definitely be in the play-in next year, somewhere in the 7 to 10 range. I just don't think that they have what it takes to be top 6.
Zach, can the Kings, I know you talked about this earlier, but do you really think they have a legitimate shot at top 6 in the West?
Yeah, let's try to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone here since I didn't understand the last question. First and foremost, I don't think this move really moves the needle on me with the Kings whatsoever. I think, going from Harrison Barnes to DeMar DeRozan doesn't really change much in my eyes. maybe slightly improves their chances to compete for a championship. But even then, it's still an extremely powerful Western Conference. And for that reason, I can't see them as I can't see them as a top 6 team in the West. I don't think there's any chance they're going to end up finishing in the top 6. Now, could they move up to 7 or 8? I think they can with this roster, but I don't think they're going to be fighting for one of the top seeds in the West.
Yeah, I think, there's still some moves to be made, but they're not going to jump above the Thunder, Nuggets, Wolves, and Mavs. I think the Pelicans either stay where they are, kind of in that 5, 6, 7 range with the Lakers, Suns. Yeah, that's probably about it. Maybe they jump a little bit depending on what goes on with the Brandon Ingram trade, but we'll wait to see that. The Grizzlies, the Warriors, the Clippers, that's where the Suns range is to me. I think they could be better than all those teams. It would not surprise me, but that still only makes them 8th. So it's probably a move they needed to make, but it's just they just have a group of players that all have individual bonuses to their team. But as a team, they just never can get over the hump. The Warriors showed them 2 years ago, kind of where that is. So, I like them better. I think they're right in the middle, kind of a C+ as far as where the NBA West goes.
Yeah. Can I throw one more little takeout? I would trust right now a fully healthy Grizzly squad to become a top. I would trust a fully healthy Grizzly squad to be a top 6 team in the West more than this Kings team.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're going to be a top 6 team.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's more likely for a fully healthy Grizzlies team to be a top 6 team in the West than a fully healthy Kings team.
I think that's fair. They're only like 2 years removed from being the 2 seed in the West, even though they lost to the Lakers in the playoffs that year. The Grizzlies' fall from grace was very hard, and definitely they should be back in the mix next year. I mean, Ja, Bane, Smart, Jaren Jackson, like they got a bunch of young guys.
Zach
Edey too. Like they have a lot of young talent, and I have no expectation for what they're going to do next year. Like they could win 50 games or 25, like really anywhere. But we're not talking about the Grizzlies anymore. So Brian, feel free to move on.
I was about to say that, Toe, really quickly. They could be between 25 and 50 games. I have no idea what to predict. So, all right. Second move since last we talked, Franz Wagner stays in Orlando. Huge contract. Okay. So is this the biggest overpay of this year's free agency? Zach?
Yeah, I absolutely think it is. I feel like, Franz Wagner is a very solid player, but you're basically paying him all-star money here. And, he hasn't really been that close to the all-star level. Like in the regular season, he kind of performed close to it, but once the playoffs came, he kind of disappeared. I get overpaying, if you're a small market, I get, giving some kind of overpay to keep your stars in town, but I'm not convinced that Franz Wagner is on that star level. I don't think he's at that star level to be earning this kind of contract. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's the biggest overpay so far of this free agency.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would be a bigger overpay. Like whether or not it's an overpay, I think you could argue, but also if it's the biggest one of free agency, no. I think Tobias Harris is the biggest overpay of free agency. Even though he got considerably less money, it's still not worth it. And I have no idea why the hell Detroit thought it would be a good idea to give him another $50 million. That's the biggest overpay in free agency. I understand why you give a guy like this a contract. The Raptors just gave Scotty Barnes the exact same deal. And it's, $225 up to $270 if he's all NBA. And I think Scotty is a lot better than Franz. But Franz is also, he's good. The only thing that everyone's saying is it's an overpay because you do really want to pay $270 million for that kind of player. He's only getting that money if he gets all NBA, which means that he is that kind of player. So you don't have to worry about the 270, like the 50+ million a year. It's only, 5 years, 225 when you really look at it. But overall, I think that they had to do this. Jalen Suggs, same draft class, 4 picks earlier. He's up next too. So he's going to have to get paid next year, probably. I think they're going to have to extend him because he's on the last year of his deal. So good luck to the Magic. Paolo's also coming up probably on like a $300 million extension. Like they're going to have to pay him, I think, in 2 years. So they got a lot of money to spend. And I think keeping Franz is a good idea for them. Was it an overpay? Yes, but I think you had to keep him.
Before we get to the next question, let me throw out another name for potential overpay. And I looked at his contract just now, and it's not super impressive. It's 3 years, $50 million. It's Klay Thompson. If this goes sideways and he, just can't perform similar to the last couple of years, although last year he played in more games, I think, than most people expected, that could be a big overpay. But in the end, it only ends up being 16.5 or 16.67 million a year. So it's probably obviously a lot less risky than what we're talking about with Wagner, but just keep an eye on that one. So let's keep talking about this. So we're all talking about who do they have next to pay? When does Paolo come up? All this. The problem is Orlando's a small market team. And as a small market team, sometimes you have to overpay these guys that may or may not end up being max players. So I asked this question to you. Zach is a fan of a big market team. Jesse's a fan of a Canadian team, which I kind of equate as a small market team. As sadly we saw today, Paul George considered coming up to Toronto to play with. I saw a report that he and.
Do you mean like 5 years ago when Kawhi was still
5
here?
years ago.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
No, not this offseason.
I thought you meant now. I was like, what the hell is Paul George doing in Toronto now?
Sorry. So let's get back to small market, big market. Did they have a choice to do anything other than pay Franz this year, even though maybe he hadn't hit his max quality yet?
I mean, maybe this is just a different perspective because I don't cheer for a small market team, but I feel like, when you're a small market team, your biggest strength is trying to be flexible with like your draft picks and trying to kind of build up a squad and then kind of like see what you can get in return in some kind of trade to continue building for the future. I don't think you needed to pay him that much money. If you're Orlando, I'd be saving that kind of extension for Paolo because that's a guy that's your main guy. You want to keep him in Orlando. You want to build around him. He's your franchise guy. You want to keep him happy in Orlando as long as possible. And I don't really see the mindset with this extension unless you really believe that they're on the same level, like the two players are on the same level. And you think like, oh, that's our 1-2 of the future. I really think back to the Utah Jazz when they had Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and they extended Rudy Gobert for what everyone considered an overpay. But looking back, it was the right move to keep him in Utah and to not, let him go away. I mean, now I'm pretty sure 4-time defensive player of the year. He won 3 of those, I believe, in Utah. Really shows you that, like, okay, they knew Gobert was their big man of the franchise. Yeah, maybe he wasn't the number 1, but it made a lot of sense keeping him. I'm not convinced that, Franz Wagner is the true number 2 of this Orlando squad. So I feel like they could have explored other options, tried to get some draft capital back and continue to build for the future. But that's just my take, cheering for a big market team.
It's just going to be really hard.
Oh,
I was going to say, it's going to be really hard at the end of the season when Jalen Suggs is up for a contract, just because he was all defensive second team this year. And that also really counts for stuff going into free agency negotiation. So he's a free agent at the end of this year. So they have to decide that. And then Paolo is also up for his $300 million. So they got to decide Jalen Suggs before anything, if they're just going to let him walk or keep one of the best young defensive guards, same class as Franz, same age, if they're going to keep him or not. And he could definitely demand a significant amount of money at the end of this season, just based off the defense alone at 23, making an all defensive team. So there's been a lot of other players in the class so far. So I think Scotty, Cade, and Franz now all have maxes. Mobley, I think he could be on his way to 1. And then you have Jalen Suggs likely going to get paid a lot. So they have to figure that out before anything.
Well, and I think where the bias comes in, if you're a fan of a big market team, you don't really believe a small market team is going to win the NBA championship. So, who's really done it of late? Milwaukee paid up to do it. Toronto, I guess you could I call them a small market team because they're in Canada, but they're really not a small market team when it comes to the money they probably have available.
Yeah, but we do play by the same rules of if we get a good player in the draft or via a trade, like we don't get anybody good in free agency. Dennis Schroeder is literally the best player to ever sign with the Raptors in free agency, and he left less than a year later. So
because Kawhi was a trade. So
Kawhi was a trade, and everybody else we've drafted. So you have to.
That's my point,
guys.
So that's my point. You're the Magic. You were 47-35 last year, 5th in the East, 1 game back of 4th, which is the Cavaliers, 2 games back of the 3rd, which were the Bucks. So they were right in the mix for a top 3 seed in the East. So if they believe that they have a chance, if they keep their guys as much as they can, to move up within those standings and, have a great run in the playoffs and upset a few folks and get to the finals, then they have to do this because his contract came up. They're going to have to, if they don't win next year, you're going to see them trade. Probably not Wagner because of this contract, but you have to take a risk. You have to decide, are you going to pay the luxury tax, whatever. It's harder for a small market team because you have to push all your chips to go in. You're never going to have the payroll that Boston or LA or whomever has. You're just going to have to be super smart about it and take a chance, and probably still not going to win the championship. So I applaud them for doing it because they had to take a chance, because if they lose next year, they're definitely not going to be able to do anything with Suggs because he may not even want to be around.
Yeah.
You're constantly chasing your tail.
They just paid KCP, and they just gave Jonathan Isaac another 80-something million for a guy who's played like 20 games in the last 2 seasons. So they've paid a lot of people, and it shouldn't seem like Orlando is that
Jonathan Isaac extension might make the least sense out of all of the moves that they've done this offseason. I didn't get that move whatsoever.
But they have to show that they're in. They do. We do. I mean, I just know you're dealing with the same thing. The Pelicans are dealing with the same thing with this Brandon Ingram. He probably doesn't deserve a max extension, but he might get one just because what other options are there? So, all right. NFL breakdown, AFC West. Okay. Yes, I'm sure everybody following along thought, we're going to go NFC East. Well, we're going to give Zach another week to get all his Dallas Cowboys hatred ready to go and all of, obviously, his pro Eagles takes. So this division, the Chiefs are an overwhelming favorite to win the division, of course. Chargers are 3.5 to 1 to win the division. The Raiders 9 to 1, and the Broncos 20 to 1. Not to win the entire, NFL championship, just to win their division. Looking at this division, pretty sad depth charts. So I know we all picked Kansas City to win it all, but how do you see this division laying out, Jesse, 1 through 4?
Which division?
The AFC. Oh, good call. How do you see the teams ranked in the AFC West in 2024?
All right, so obviously the Chiefs are 1. I think the Vegas Raiders are going to come out and get that second spot in the AFC West. I think that they're going to have a much better year. They finished the year very strong. The defense was great. The offense still needs work. We have no clue who's starting at quarterback, whether it's O'Connell or Minshew, but I have more faith in either of them with that Raiders squad than whatever the Chargers are cooking in their first year of their rebuild with Harbaugh. And then you got the Broncos in last. So I think it's going to be Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos dead last. That's my take.
Zach?
Yeah, of course, Chiefs are going to win the division. They're my number 1 team. But number 2, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't care if they have a first-year head coach under them. This is still a team that can compete. As long as you have a guy like Justin Herbert, I think you can compete for a playoff spot, the bare minimum for a division title. They also drafted future Hall of Famer right tackle Joe Alt. So, just based off of his draft day outfit, he's going to be a Hall of Famer anyways. So they beefed up that offensive line. I expect a lot out of Herbert. Third, I have the Raiders. Think whether it's Minshew or Aiden O'Connell, it's a fine situation at quarterback. This offense can produce somewhat. I'm optimistic about Brock Bowers. I'm looking forward to see how he performs in his rookie season. But what I'm saying is at least I have a little bit of hope for this Raiders squad, and I can't say that about the Denver Broncos. They're my dead last team.
I don't know how you all are as positive as you are about the Raiders. I know you're not super positive. I'm not trying to say that you think they're going to win the division, but this crew, O'Connell, Zamir White, Michael Gallup, two probably starting caliber tight ends on their team, which is not a great place to be when you have no quarterback. I'm going KC. Then I'm going the Chargers. I just think Jim Harbaugh is going to have an impact, and I think Justin Herbert's going to have an impact, and he's by far the second best quarterback in this division. Then I like Denver. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm biased to Sean Payton, but I just would rather have younger quarterbacks like Stidham and Nix than washed up guys like Minshew. We know what Minshew. I know Minshew could make a run, and I know he was a former Eagle, so I'm going to get some hatred for that. But I think I'm just tired of the mustache show with him. And I think Denver has the ability to jump up and be third. And there's nothing I like about the Raiders. They're last.
I just think with the Raiders, second place to me in this division, by the way, is like 9-8. Like I think the Chiefs
probably not even that.
Maybe not. Like the Chiefs are probably going to win 14 games or something like that. And then the other three are like 8-9, 7-10, and 5-12 or something. Like that's the last three. I think that the Raiders, though, I don't know, man. I think that they have a lot of talent. Zamir White won a lot of people their fantasy playoffs last year after Josh Jacobs went down. And he showed that he could handle a workload. And don't forget about Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, I think is the other tight end. So they got some weapons. They just need to have a consistent quarterback for an entire season. And they've got two great mustaches on the team, with Aiden O'Connell with one and Minshew with the other. So I'm a little hot on the Raiders, and we'll see where they go.
Yeah, and the two divisions that the AFC West plays are the NFC South and the AFC North. So the NFC South, that wouldn't worry me too much. I think in the end, the NFC South could win this grudge match between the two divisions, but the Chargers or whomever can pull a couple of wins out of there. But the AFC North's a tough one because that's going to be a pretty strong division, I think. So besides KC, who has the best chance to make the playoffs in the AFC West?
Zach. I mean, it's still just a difficult question to believe that any of these other teams have a real, true shot at making the playoffs. But I really do think the Chargers will snag a wild card spot. I really think that this isn't a roster that's going to blow you away, but with that offense, with the improvements to the offensive line, I'm looking forward to seeing if Quentin Johnston can improve. I'm looking forward to see Ladd McConkey in his first season. They have a new running back group, which, you can argue if it's a upgrade or a downgrade, but J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards behind that offensive line should be a pretty good combo. The defense, I mean, you have Joey Bosa. You have Asante Samuel Jr., you have Derwin James. This is a solid squad on paper, and I think they're going to be able to walk away with a winning record and a low wild card spot.
I still think it's the Raiders. I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one, and I just don't think that the Chargers are going to have it this year. I think the Chargers are going to charger yet again. They just lost their three best offensive players that have been on the team in the last 5 years are all gone. Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen probably accounted for 85% of their yards like the last couple of years. They're all gone. They have some new blood, and they're literally just the Ravens now running the ball. They have Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, so that's not going to work out for them. And then, Ladd McConkey's interesting, Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnston. It's just there's nothing to like on the offensive side of the ball. There's literally nothing to like besides Joe Alt and Justin Herbert. So I just don't think that in year one, I think that they should be bad so that they can get another top pick next year and get Justin Herbert some more help. But honestly, they don't have a shot. And I'm going to give it to Vegas because I think we've seen Minshew mania happen before. And I would not be surprised. Like Gardner Minshew is a winner. He can come in and win you a football game. He won. He was a very quality starter for the Colts last year after Anthony Richardson went down. And I just think if he can even be 500, that's usually not going to get you in the playoffs. But I think if anybody else in this trash division, the Raiders have a better shot than any.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Chargers. I don't feel great about it though, and they could be fourth, and I wouldn't be shocked or surprised. So they are gonna waste. Now, we'll talk in a second about Justin Herbert. I do think his reputation is probably a little stronger than it's deserved. But I think having a new coach with a different mindset, with probably a lot more chances being taken, is going to do something to help him. But in the end, if you don't have the playmakers, it might not matter. So if J.K. Dobbins can stay healthy, which of course all Ravens fans have said for the last 3 years, I think he could be an Austin Eckler light. Not comparing him to Austin Eckler 1-to-1, and I just don't think it'll take that much to beat the Raiders and the Broncos. So let's talk Chargers. Is Justin Herbert a top 12 quarterback in fantasy football this year? Zach.
That's tough, but it feels weird saying it, but I'm leaning no. I mean, when it comes to fantasy value, I'm just gonna try to list off 12 guys I'd probably take over Herbert in my fantasy team. I'm taking the obvious ones: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. And then I'm going to go with Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Dak, Kyler if he stays healthy the entire year, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love. I think that's 10 so far. Then give me Brock Purdy, and I'll just throw Jared Goff out there. I kind of trust them a lot more with their weapons, all those guys respectively, more than what Justin Herbert has to work with at the moment. It's just, like you mentioned, they did lose a lot of their core offensive pieces. I think they can still win games. I don't think it's going to be great for Justin Herbert's fantasy value. He, to me, is last year I would have told you absolutely he's a top 12 fantasy option. This year, I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think he's I don't think that Justin Herbert's top 12 either. He finished the season last year as a QB 16 and lost all of his best weapons. And it's no hate to Justin Herbert. I still think he's in the top 5 to 10 range talent-wise in the league. But I mean, Justin Fields is a top 5 quarterback fan. Justin Fields was top 5 in fantasy like last year. And that'll tell you everything you need to know about fantasy football. So Jaden Daniels has a chance to be a better fantasy quarterback than Justin Herbert just because of the legs. Josh Dobbs probably finished higher than Justin Herbert last year. Like this is fantasy for a reason. It's not real life. And unfortunately, Herbert just has such a bad offense that it's no knock against him, but I would definitely take a chance on Caleb Williams before him. I'd probably take Tua over him, along with pretty much every single guy that Zach said as well. So I think that you could even make a case for Baker Mayfield over him. Like, just because he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, like, seriously, you could make a case. So Herbert didn't have that big game last year that you'd love to see from him. And I find it hard to believe that he'd finish in the top 12. He actually might not even finish in the top 20. Like, just based on the guys he has around him and the lack of the rushing upside, especially with now Gus Edwards, the goal line vulture. Like, there's just really nothing to like. And I would be surprised if he even gets drafted in, like, if you're in like a 10-team league, he could very well be on your waiver wire.
I think there's a chance Derek Carr under the new Clint Kubiak offense could be better than Justin Herbert for fantasy this year. And that's a insane, dumb take. But I just like, everything. I do like the idea that Justin Herbert's got a new coach coming in who I think will take more chances, because they definitely did not chuck the ball downfield enough last year. A lot of their longer passes were based off of slants or like 15-yard ins that the better wide receivers that they had last year were able to do something with. But I have him top 15. I do think that his talent gets you somewhere. And if he has a little more time with this rebuilt offensive line, I think there's a chance. But there's just a lot of wide receivers that come through the Chargers system that are unbelievable in college and can't catch when they get to the pros. So somebody's going to have to catch the ball, because your guys, your steadfast guys from the last couple of years are not there anymore. And that has to work for him to be top 12. I don't see it. I see top 15 tops. I don't think the rookies are going to be better than him, because I think they're going to have their own issues, even though rushing yards will help them. But I think top 10 is his ceiling. So, all right. Would you rather be the GM of the Raiders or the Broncos starting today, Jesse?
Oh, it's definitely the Raiders. 100% the Raiders. You're in Vegas. The jerseys are way cooler. You have a new stadium. You have all these things going for you. Probably some of the coolest uniforms and merch in all of football. Then you just get to the actual talent side of it. You got Devontae Adams, arguably still a top 5 wide receiver in the league. You got Max Crosby, could be up for Defensive Player of the Year this season. You've got some younger guys on the roster still, a lot to work with, a new coach that a lot of the players feel really great about. And overall, I mean, I think every single in every single aspect would I prefer the Raiders to the Broncos.
You know this division is bad when you start with, well, the uniforms.
We're starting off with, if you're a GM, yes, there's the on the field stuff, but that's more the coach's problem. I got to worry about what's going on, in-house around the stadium. If there's good money in this thing, and if it's in Vegas, there's some good money in this thing. So I don't think you'd have a problem attracting players necessarily to come, play in the desert. I think that they'd probably want to be there more than Denver, Colorado. So I'd say it's a no-brainer.
Zach?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm gonna argue for the Raiders, but not talk about their cosmetics and their branding. I'm gonna talk about the fact that it feels like half of the job is done already. You already have a good half of this team is legitimately competitive. They're just a few pieces away from getting over that hump. I mean, the defensive line is phenomenal. The defensive secondary is solid. I feel like your receiving core is already mostly set. You might want to get a wide receiver 2 or 3 in there to improve that. All you really need is to improve that offensive line and improve the quarterback situation. You've got a pretty competitive team in the AFC right there. I'm taking the Raiders because I think it would just be an easier job to build this team into a contender.
So I'm going to take the Broncos. Number one, just to say something different. But number two, I don't care about the branding. Although if I was the Broncos GM, we would be moving back to the old helmets with the D in it, rather than the fluffy-haired horse that we have now. I like talking. I like talking strategy with Sean Payton. All right. I do think they have the better head coach, which is a good start. We're obviously paying him a lot more than Antonio Pierce. But I would not have loved the Bo Nix draft pick, but we have him now. I'm not even talking about starting anybody but Bo Nix because we're just going to roll and see what we have here. But the Raiders always underachieve. They just find a way. Al Davis's ghost, just, since the 70s, they have not done much. They had the one Super Bowl in 2002, but that's about it. They had the tuck rule game. Obviously, they could have gone somewhere in 2001 as well. But they just find a way to lose year in and year out. I think I'm running away from Devontae Adams in fantasy this year. I think it's going to be terrible for him. I don't think he's anywhere close to a top 5 receiver, not because of his own talent, but because of the situation. I don't know. I think I like the Broncos, young outlook. They got out of the Russell Wilson sweepstakes and are moving on. And no offense, Denver is much lovelier than Las Vegas, Nevada, which we will find out this weekend when we're in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's 114 degrees. Denver, lots of sunshine, 300 days of sunshine a year. You get a little snow, you get a little spring, you get a little summer. Give me Denver in this pick. I'll take the job as the GM of the Broncos, and me and Sean Payton, we're going to figure this thing out. All right, let's move on to the Raiders, as if we haven't talked enough about them already. I'm sorry. I meant the Broncos. Let's move on to the Broncos. We haven't talked enough about them. Which quarterback should start week 1 for the Denver Broncos in 2024? So you have the choices of Stidham and Bo Nix. So going to you, Jesse. What do you think?
Don't forget about our good friend Zach Wilson, also on the roster.
Oh, right. Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I think it should absolutely be Bo Nix. I mean, you drafted a guy. Jarrett Stidham had his chance. I mean, I don't think he should even be in the running unless he has a phenomenal training camp. And then Zach Wilson, he's also had his chance in the league. I mean, I don't know why you would watch what he's done with the Jets the last several years and think, yeah, let's give that guy a shot. I still don't know why they even made the trade to begin with. I think, honestly, they just did it out of pettiness to have a new quarterback with Wilson on the back. I think that's the only reason that they would actually take a flyer on him. I'd say absolutely you have to give the starting job to Bo Nix. I mean, Bo Nix is 24. Like, he's older than some quarterbacks that have been in the league already for multiple years. So I think he's ready. He was one of the more mature prospects coming out of the draft. I mean, he spent a lot of time in college, and I think overall he's ready. He should absolutely be starting week 1, and you have nothing to lose.
Zach?
What do you think? Okay.
Well,
I think for the Broncos, they should start Zach Wilson in a preseason game, see what they have with Zach Wilson, and then start Bo Nix week 1 regardless. I honestly think already we've seen nothing from Bo Nix, and I still think he's already the best quarterback in that room. So I'm with Jesse. I'm riding with Bo. Sean Payton talked a lot of he really talked Bo Nix up after they drafted him, being like, oh, like he's got potential to be like the best quarterback in the league. And it's like, well, honestly, put your money where your mouth is, because it's like I want to see it. If Bo Nix is the savior of the Denver Broncos, why wouldn't you start him week 1?
This is like a person wanting to play golf for the very first time. Yeah, you could go to the driving range and hit balls forever, but it's not fun unless you get in a game situation. You don't really know what kind of player you are or what kind of talent you have. So if I'm the Broncos and Sean Payton, I'm putting Bo Nix in there. Like, we're not going to – what are we waiting for? He's not – like you said, he's not 21 years old where we have, the benefit of time. We need to get him in there. He's played in the SEC. He's played in the Pac-12. Rest in peace, Pac-12. And now we need to see what he can do at the NFL level. You really thought he was the quarterback you wanted, other than maybe the top 2 or 3. So you got him now. Let's let him run around and see what happens. You're right. We know what we get out of Stidham. And Zach Wilson, I don't know if he's there to, hang out with Sean Payton because they date the same age women. I don't know what's going on with that, but that is not the answer to the success of what's going to happen with the Broncos the next couple of years. So give me Knicks.
I think that Zach Wilson's girlfriend might be older than Bill Belichick's, but I don't know for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That's not even close, I don't think.
Could be. Zach Wilson just got married, by the way, this offseason. So.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a close follower of Zach Wilson's dating life. I just was, taking.
I thought you of all people might be, but I don't know.
Yes.
I saw something about Christian McCaffrey's wedding earlier today. How about that?
Yeah, he got married too.
Yeah, he got married.
That looked like a really fun wedding. If you look at the other participants, the other invitees, everybody had.
I want to be at the table with like Kittle, Juszczyk, like Debo, and just like all the offensive guys get their own table at the wedding. That'd be a fun.
Greg
time.
Olsen took a picture with his shirt untucked. I don't know what happened.
Everyone says that Greg Olsen looks like how you should look like after a wedding.
Yes,
exactly.
Greg Olsen in that photo is my spirit animal.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, another would you rather. Would you rather Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins or Chris Jones and George Karlaftis? Jesse.
That's a really good one. I think I would lean with the Raiders side, though. I would go Crosby and Christian Wilkins. I think the two of them I think that they might be the best tandem. I think they might be the best defensive line duo in the entire league. I was looking for the right alliteration. The best defensive line duo in the NFL. I just think that Max Crosby should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year every year for the next 3 years. Realistically, he's that good. And I know Chris Jones is that good as well. But Christian Wilkins was probably the best defensive signing out of all of free agency. They gave him 4 years, $110 million to be their defensive tackle. And I think you have him on the inside, Crosby on the outside. Good luck to the opposing quarterback. I think Chris Jones is also great. And George Karlaftis also very underrated off the edge. But I just slightly lean with the Raiders side of this. I just think that they're too good. And I think they're a bit younger as well. So that also plays in their favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I understand the age differential. Chris Jones is definitely he's the oldest player of this group, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this one. I mean, like you mentioned, Chris Jones, you could argue he is the best defensive lineman in the NFL. And I don't think Karlaftis is as far away as people are thinking he is. He has developed tremendously over his first couple of years in the big leagues. I think he's going to continue to develop. He's going to really show out. He's going to become, I feel like he could be a household name after another season or two. So for now and for the future, I'm going to take the Chiefs.
So the ages are actually closer than I thought. So Jones is 30 and Karlaftis is 23. And then Crosby's 26 and Wilkins is 28. So it's two more middle-aged versus one vet and one guy who's much younger.
I'm still going to take Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. I honestly think that Chris Jones already, he still is the best defensive lineman in the NFL. I know Max Crosby's right there with him. I'm going to take Chris Jones. And then I am really high on Karlaftis.
Yeah, I think that Jones and Crosby probably are fighting for the throne of best D lineman now that Donald retired. Like that's the next two.
Yep.
I'm just glad you two disagree. That way I can just, come here and say whatever I want rather than take the other opinion. So this is easy. It's Max Crosby is the best defensive lineman of the four of these guys. Therefore, it's the Raiders that I choose. So I hear what you're saying about Chris Jones, and he had some impact plays in the playoffs, and he's going to help the Chiefs probably three-peat this year. But I don't think he's the best defensive lineman in the division and thus in the NFL. And I think it's Max Crosby. And I think with him actually having some help on that defensive line, it's going to be amazing what he does this year. I think that's where the Raiders have the chance to jump up and be the second best team in this division and, fight for a wild card spot, is the fact that their defense could just be, or at least their defensive line could be brutal to deal with. And he's just going to be explosive and exciting, and they won't be able to double team him nearly as much anymore. So give me the Raiders on this one. All right. It's time. We're going to do fantasy football draft, AFC West only. All right. So we do this week to week. You can only pick players from the AFC West. You have quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. And gentlemen, this division does not go very deep. This is going to be putrid and disgusting. And a lot of these players probably won't get picked in regular fantasy. But let's do it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, when you have a 3-person draft and you might be drafting undrafted guys, that the division sucks.
Yeah, exactly. All right. The order is Zach, then me, then Jesse. Zach, it's all you.
Yeah, as is
Shocker.
very clear. As is very clear with this division, it does not run deep, but it especially does not run deep at quarterback, which makes this pick a no-brainer. Give me Patrick Mahomes first overall.
Maybe you should say you draft the quarterback room, so you also get Carson Wentz.
Oh, I like it. I like that, actually. You would think, okay, Zach goes quarterback, so I'll just take the best position player left. I could do that, but the problem is the best position player left is a tight end. And so do I want to start my draft off with a tight end and then not get a quarterback because there's only 2? And the second one's not a great option. So I had in my head that you were going to take Mahomes and that I was going to take Justin Herbert, but I think I just talked myself into Travis Kelce. So give me Travis Kelce.
Wow. Okay. That was a little unexpected. So my first pick, give me Devontae Adams at the wide receiver. I still think he should have a phenomenal season. The thing about Justin Herbert is he's obviously the second best quarterback in this division, but he's still not going to be a top 12 or even top 15 guy in fantasy. So I don't even think it's worth taking him here. I'm going to pass on him and give me the best running back in the division. Give me Isaiah Pacheco.
Nice. Good pick. Good pick there.
Wow.
Okay. So there is no running back. There's no reason for me to pick Justin Herbert here because Zach can't pick him, so I can at least get him on the way back. So I can't pick another tight end, which might be the best other option in Brock Bowers. So there's whatever is going on in LA at the wide receiver position or at the running back position. It's just like a muddle of names with nothing going on. Javonte Williams, they're already talking negatively about. Rashee Rice may not play for the first half of the season. This is disgusting. Okay, so I'm just gonna. God,
stop stalling and make your pick.
I don't know who to take. Josh Palmer, Cortland Sutton. I guess Cortland Sutton's in that Devontae Adams conversation of could be okay, but no quarterback. Oh my God, this is so disgusting. I don't know what to do. I almost want to pass. Give me Gus Edwards. I hate this pick right now, but I don't know what to do.
Oh my God.
It's so bad.
I mean, it is that bad, but considering that I was hoping a Pacheco would fall back to me, I am a little disappointed. But
You thought he was falling that far?
I didn't know. I thought one of you guys were going to take Herbert early, get it over with. But there's still a decent duo with upside that I'm seeing on my board that I'm excited to take. So with my second pick, I'm going to go with Zamir White, who's going to get the most touches for the Raiders. And I expect them to be going on the ground quite a bit this year.
I would have taken him over Gus Edwards, to be honest.
I that's what I was thinking too. And then for wide receiver, I'm mostly looking at the Chiefs depth chart. And there's one player that when I saw the Chiefs drafted him this year, I was like, that is a steal. It's a phenomenal pick. He's going to be a stud for them. Give me Xavier Worthy here.
Wow, taking the rookie as the first Chiefs wide receiver off the board.
I'm taking him first. I'm really high on Worthy.
Okay.
All right. I'm just going to make this easy. I'm going to take a quarterback because I can't stand to have to pick through whatever's left, and I'll let Jesse do that. Yeah, give me Justin Herbert.
Well, you know, for damn sure, I'm not taking a quarterback until my last pick of the draft now.
Right.
So I have my pick of the field here. First off, this is disgusting, but I'll take Hollywood Brown at one of my wide receiver spots. He's had over 100 targets in all 4 of the last seasons, and he missed some time 2 of the last 4 years. So I think he honestly should step in and be the wide receiver 1. Rashee Rice, there's questions. If he plays the full season, that could definitely be his job. But I think that Marquise Brown, they signed him for a reason. He's a guy who's used to a big workload, used to being a top guy. And I think that he should have a great connection with Mahomes. So I'm taking him. And then with my other pick, this is gross. You know what? Give me Cortland Sutton. That dude catches everything. And he is like the Bentley parked outside of the crappy house. He's that meme. Cortland Sutton, he's honestly one of the most talented guys in the league. He had some of the best catches in the league last year, even with, not the best quarterback play. So I think Cortland Sutton is super talented, and he should still be able to squeak out close to 1,000-yard season next year. Even with the conditions, Jerry Jeudy's gone, so that opens up the door for him to get some more action. So I think that he should have a fine time next year.
I actually really like that pick for you, Jesse. That's a very good pick for your flex.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about is that Bo Nix is like the check down king, and Cortland Sutton is more of a deep ball guy, and that's where Russell Wilson was nice for that. But we'll see if Bo Nix learns how to sling it downfield.
Well, those are the 2 names I had written down to take, hoping one of them fell to me, Sutton and.
Oh yeah, you got to take 2 wide receivers,
and I still have to take 2 more wide receivers based on what I've done so far. So, damn you, Travis Kelce. All right. So I'm going to just go to LA with this because I have Herbert. There has to be somebody to step up to be the number 1. I've seen enough of Josh Palmer to know that I'm just going to get vanilla boringness out of him. So I'm not taking him, and I'm not taking Ladd because it's just a weird name. So give me Quentin Johnson. I'm just going to hope that he learns how to catch the ball, and he can show up that speed with a couple more deep balls with the new coach. So there I go. Another Charger.
All right. Just based off the board I have left, it looks like my team's going to be made up of only 2 teams in this division. First, I'm a little surprised he fell back to me, but I'm getting the 2 Chiefs receivers I actually feel kind of confident about their ability to have good fantasy seasons. Give me Rashee Rice here. And then with my flex, a little less surprised he hasn't been taken, but give me the rookie Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I was thinking about Bowers, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't want another Raider.
2 guys I definitely like. I had them highlighted. I wasn't sure how far they would fall, but I'm pretty happy rounding out my draft with Rice and Bowers.
Yeah, I would have taken, if you'd have passed on Rice, I'd have taken him going back because I feel like he's going to eventually play. But so I still have to go wide receiver. I don't want anybody in Denver. I don't think I want another Charger. I already have 2. That's enough. So I'm going to go with a famous Beastie Boys quote. I got more suits than Jacoby and Myers, and go with Jacoby Myers.
I was surprised that Kobe fell that far. He had a pretty quiet, like steady year last year. I was thinking about taking him honestly with one of mine, but he's like very reliable. So I like that. I like that for you. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I have to take a freaking quarterback
To win the draft.
Yep.
To win the draft. Basically my options are Bo Nix or one of the Raiders, but we don't know who's starting in either of these rooms. So I'm just going to assume that whoever I pick is starting. I'm going to take Gardner Minshew, and you can argue with the wall. Gardner Minshew is the best option remaining. I think that we've seen Minshew Mania. He was serviceable at times in fantasy. I don't need him to win me this draft off. I just need him to not lose me it. Okay. I just need like a 15 points from him and we're set. And he can run it in too. He's got some legs on him. So Gardner Minshew, I think he should start. And if he does start, my team's winning this, no doubt.
All right. Well, let us know who won this draft off.
I'm just scared that Zach wins it purely off the Mahomes thing, but I think that this draft is probably one of the worst that we've ever done. So
yeah,
I apologize to whoever watched this video.
My mentality with my team is that I'm kind of banking on a lot of things panning out. If they do, this is the best team by far. If things don't pan out, like Rashee Rice could obviously not pan out. Worthy might not live up to expectations. Bowers could disappoint year one. If those don't play out, then this is obviously the worst team. So
I feel like I have like a great team in 2021. That's like my roster.
Yeah,
that's funny. It's funny that you say that because I thought about my team going into last year. I would have had the winner.
Yeah.
But,
Brian's the team that somebody ends up with, and the guy feels great on draft day, and they go like 5-12.
He's like, oh, Justin Herbert, I'll take him early.
Well, that's what happens when you take Kelsey first, and then you're like, oh, I have the tight end advantage, and then there was actually a lot of decent tight ends last year. And then
it's kind of funny because last year, I think in my money league, I drafted Kelsey in the first round, and I think I still like made the playoffs, but I didn't have nearly as good of a season as I wanted to because that pick had like a stranglehold on that position as well. That I couldn't move him out tight end. I didn't have any flexibility there, and that just kind of like super limiting taking a tight end round one.
All right, so our next trivia, we're staying with some Patrick Mahomes talk. I'm running this one today. So can you name every player that Patrick Mahomes has thrown at least 5 touchdowns to? Or I could say it as, can you name every player that has caught at least 5 touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes? So there's 12 players with at least 5. And this is any position on offense. So they might even have some D linemen in there because you know that Andy Reid likes to get weird.
That's true. All right.
He'd have to get really weird a lot for 5 touchdowns, though.
All right, well, let's start with a very basic answer. Let's go with Travis Kelce.
Easily number 1 with 51.
Huh. Who is number 2? Can I have... He had to have thrown 5 to Mecole Hardman.
Hardman's number 3 with 15, including the game winner in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Although, actually, I don't know if this counts the playoffs, but...
Mm-hmm. I feel like if Hardman's number 3, then Tyreek Hill has to be number 2.
Riveting guesses so far. 42 touchdowns for Tyreek Hill, number 2. So top 3 are cleared out. Everybody left has under 14, but more than 5.
I feel like Rashee Rice had more than 5 last year. Rashee Rice.
He had 7, and he's number 7.
Nice. How about you said it's not could be any position on offense. I'm gonna guess a running back. How about Pacheco?
Isaiah Pacheco is not caught 5 yet. There are several other running backs, but Isaiah Pacheco has not caught that many from Mahomes yet. He's ran in a bunch, but he's not usually the pass catching back.
I know Mahomes likes his tight ends. What about a backup tight end, Justin Watson?
Justin Watson is tied for the last on the list with 5. Just makes it.
Wow.
Nice
All right. I missed with Pacheco. How about Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Clyde's got 7, tied for number 7.
Nice.
Who's another running back he would have thrown to? I'm trying to remember who their running backs were. What about MVS?
Nope.
I know that's not a running back.
No, Scantling did not catch 5.
Good guess.
He probably had like 4, honestly. He's probably close.
This might be a reach, but I know he played with Mahomes. How about Sammy Watkins?
Sammy Watkins with 8 is number 6. Nice.
Nice.
So you're missing 4, 5, 9, 10, 11.
God, he's so good at just involving whoever happens to be there that it's hard to. I'm like trying to think of receivers, and I'm coming up with like Byron Pringle and people like that.
Byron Pringle's correct.
Is it?
Byron Pringle is correct. He has 6. Good enough for number 10. So you got to stay thinking like that, because the other receivers on this list are like a duplicate of Byron Pringle.
So what do we have so far? What do we have so far?
You have everything except 4, 5, 9, and 11. So you're missing 4 players. 2 of them are receivers.
Okay. I'm going for one of those lower slots because I think Mahomes could be good enough to get this guy with the worst hands in the NFL to 5 touchdown catches. Is Kadarius Toney on this list?
Toney is not on the list. Shocker.
I was rooting for him for a second there.
Yeah, no, Kadarius Toney, I think he very narrowly missed the list, but he did not get that many.
Okay.
What about Jerick McKinnon?
Jerick McKinnon is correct with 14, tied for number 4.
That's more than I would have thought even.
Yeah, he's played with him for quite a few years, so they've had a lot.
All right. How about Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt is correct with 7. He's on the list. So you're missing number 4 and number 11.
Okay.
What was that other LSU running back they had?
Toney had 3, by the way. Scantling had 3. Toney had 3. Yeah, those.
Damian Williams. That's what I was thinking of. Damian Williams.
No, Damian Williams is not on the list. You have all the running backs. So the only running backs were Hunt, Clyde, and McKinnon. So you have 2 receivers left.
Okay.
You said 4 and 11?
I don't think Brian.
So 4 would be a decent amount of touchdowns.
It's tied with McKinnon for 14. And the last guy has 5.
Okay. I was thinking Brian didn't guess Justin Watson, right?
He did.
I did.
He was tied for the last spot on the list. Okay.
I had a different guy just in case because I wasn't sure. How about Noah Gray?
No, Noah Gray had 4. Just barely misses it.
So close.
Next year. DeMarcus. Oh shit. What's his last name? Shoot. I mean,
what is his last name?
DeMarcus. I want to say Richardson, but I don't think that's right.
So close.
I know what it is.
What is
Robinson?
DeMarcus Robinson had 14. He was great.
Nice.
He's on the Ravens now, I think. So our last guy, he was drafted by the Chiefs in 2015. He played 4 seasons with the Chiefs. Only did he cross paths with Mahomes in 2018. And then he left and was a Jaguar and actually bounced around the AFC South after that.
Oh,
As one does.
I think I know who this is. Is this Chris Conley?
It is Chris Conley. Well done.
Nice.
What a list, huh? Just
hell of a list.
So it gets even better. So don't go anywhere because we're going to talk about some. Actually, these guys are pretty well respected members of the league. So moving on to our next trivia. So can you name every 1,000-yard receiver in the AFC West in the last 10 years? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Healthy amount from each team, at least 3 from each team.
All you need
this
is
is
1,000.
this is 1,000 yards since 2014, basically, in this division, in one season.
Mm-hmm. Devontae Adams.
Bingo with 1,500 yards. He had the second most out of anybody on this entire list.
Okay. Easy answer. How about Travis Kelce?
Travis Kelce with just over 1,400 yards as well. He's pretty high up on the list, but he is He is 4th.
I just had a blank on the Chargers receiver. Zach, who is it? The Chargers receiver that just went to Chicago.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, thank you.
Keenan Allen with almost 1,400 yards is gladly on the list multiple times. He's done this a bunch of times. So yeah, Keenan Allen, correct.
That was I guess I gave that to Zach, so I'll go Courtland Sutton.
Courtland Sutton is correct with just over 1,100.
Give me Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill with just under 1,500. Both years in Miami actually way surpassed his highs with Kansas City. But yeah, 1,479 for Tyreek Hill. Good enough for number 3.
Demaryius Thomas.
The most in the last 10 years, Demaryius Thomas with over 1,600 yards.
Rest in peace, legend. Absolute legend.
R.I.P.
How about Darren Waller?
Darren Waller with 1,196. Nice hit.
We're talking 10 years. Dwayne Bowe.
No, Dwayne Bowe is
really
not on the list. No,
he had a bunch of touchdowns that one year.
Dwayne Bowe, I think he did this. It was like right before. His best season was I think his best season was 2010, but his last 1,000-yard season was 2011, 2012. So
okay. Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders with over 1,400 yards on the Broncos is correct. So he's the last Bronco on the list.
Okay.
Antonio Gates.
No.
That was a good guess.
Antonio Gates has not had one in the last 10 years.
How about the Yak merchant, Austin Eckler?
No, Austin Eckler got so close. He had 990 yards but he didn't get there.
Oh.
I thought you were going to go with the other Yak merchant.
Brock Purdy?
The Raiders. No, the one for the Raiders.
No,
Anyway.
if you were curious, by the way, Austin Eckler had 993 yards in 2019. Antonio Gates' last 1,000 yards, he actually only had 2, 2009 and 2005. So almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
But yeah.
Did Josh Jacobs ever get close?
Nope. We've got a few other Raiders, though. There's a few other Raiders here.
Yeah, I was thinking of one. How about Amari Cooper?
I was wondering when you were going to say that name. 1,153 for Amari Cooper. So we've got 5 names left. You've got a Chief, 2 Raiders, and 2 Chargers.
Hunter Renfrow. That's the one I was referring to.
Hunter Renfrow with 1,038. Well done. That's a good guess. He's one of the more obscure ones on this list. There's a Charger.
He's the Yak merchant I was referring.
Oh, there's a Charger that's pretty obvious.
All right, I guess I don't know ball if he's that obvious. How about
we just talked about him for like the last 20 minutes. Say that again.
How about McCole Hardman?
Nope. No McCole Hardman.
I'm trying to think of this obvious Raider
I
that we're missing.
Charger.
I mean, Charger that we're missing.
I think I just got it, but he'll be my next guess if you don't guess him.
Okay. What about Jeremy Maclin?
Bang! He is the last Chief on the board with 1088. Also an Eagle. Surprise Zach didn't say him. Jerry Maclin. So you have one Raider and 2 Chargers left.
Okay. Well, the Charger I thought of, I don't think we've guessed Mike Williams yet.
You haven't. Mike Williams is the obvious choice there. 1146 for Mike Will. So here's a hint. The other Charger shares the same last name. What is his first name?
Mike Williams and Willie Williams. Who's the other Williams?
No.
He's not.
Is
Williams.
You know it. Say it.
Is it Tyrell Williams?
Tyrell Williams in 2016 had over 1,000 yards.
Wow.
So you're missing just the Raider. He had 1,003 yards. Just goes to show you that hitting that yard mark is important because
is this Michael Crabtree?
I think this might have been the year that he was beefing with Aqib Talib because he had 1,000 yards and he could talk his talk. Michael Crabtree is the last one on the list. Got his chain snatched, still got 1,000 yards. Actually, wait, did he get his chain snatched or did he snatch Aqib Talib's chain?
I don't remember.
I don't know which one it was, but Aqib Talib aside, he had 1,000 yards. Michael Crabtree, last name on the list. Well done. So don't go anywhere because we've got the same list except running, and there's much less guys on the list. So it should be pretty easy. So
how many?
Yeah. So not a sorry receiver like Crabtree. He's not a sorry receiver. He is on the list with 1,000 yards. Offie is very right. Just wanted to give Offie some credit for getting that reference. So last question of the day. Can you name every 1,000-yard rusher in the AFC West in the last 10 years? So there's a lot less. There's only 7.
Wow.
Jeez, 7?
Only 7 guys.
Give me Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs with the most by far, over 1,600 yards, number 1.
All right. Well, if he couldn't get 1,000 yards receiving, certainly he got 1,000 yards rushing. Give me Austin Eckler.
Nope.
Oh,
absolute merchant, PPR merchant. He's never had 1,000 yards.
This freaking
Funny thing about Austin Eckler is he had 20 touchdowns in a season once, but has not had 1,000 rushing yards. He had 915 was his career best.
Ugh.
What about what about Latavius Murray?
The fact that that's the second name out of your mouth is crazy, and the fact that it's right is even crazier. With 1066, nice.
I was thinking about the Saints. You know, we got him from the Raiders, and I was just thinking,
yeah, Latavius Murray is still a dog, and he is correct. So that was in his Raiders days, because he also played for the Broncos, but that was his Raiders run.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah. How about Melvin Gordon?
On what team?
I'm gonna guess the Chargers.
Melvin Gordon is correct for the Chargers with 1105. He would have been incorrect for the Broncos. He actually got very close, though. I think he had, let me see what his best year was. He had 986 yards with the Broncos, but 1105 with the Chargers. And he actually also had 997 another year with the Chargers. So,
wow.
Very close.
He was good for 2 years.
He was really good.
He's very similar to like Le'Veon Bell. Was great, and then he held out and was literally never the same after he held out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Melvin Gordon is correct. You've got 3 of the 7 so far.
What about Kareem Hunt, Chiefs?
Number 2 with 1,300 yards, Kareem Hunt.
What about CJ Anderson?
7 yards over 1,000 is CJ Anderson.
Wow. Let's go, CJ Anderson.
So you're missing 2 players.
Don't diss CJ Anderson. He was a dog for a little bit.
He was a dog in that Super Bowl too.
Raiders, Chiefs.
There's a couple Bronco
Chargers,
running backs that just were
Broncos.
so fun in the earlier 2010s.
Yeah.
Earlier 2010s.
Surprised you haven't guessed Ronnie Hillman, but he's not on the list.
Oh, yeah. Shocker. Jamal Charles.
Jamal Charles is one of the last two players with just over 1,000. He makes the cut. Most of his prime was a little earlier, but 1033 for Jamal Charles.
I was worried that I missed it by a year. Like he just didn't play within the last.
Yeah, well, his best season was 2013, or sorry, 2012. He had the most yards, but he had the most touchdowns in 2013, and then 2014 was actually his last good year, and then just kind of fell off after that. It was never really the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jamal Charles is correct. Good night, Offie. He's in Israel, so it's later there.
Oh.
So last guy on the list. Who you got?
I think I know it. If it's a Bronco,
I think I know it. Do y'all remember?
You want to say the same? You want to say the same name on three?
All right,
One,
sure.
2, 3.
Philip Lindsay.
Yep.
Bang! Philip Lindsay.
Y'all remember when Philip Lindsay ran the league?
As an undrafted rookie, too.
Undrafted rookie. That man ran the league.
He was the first undrafted player in league history, I think, to have 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. Yeah. Also, only the third ever undrafted rookie with 1,000 yards in a season. Not to mention the fact that he made the Pro Bowl. Like, bro was on one. So Philip Lindsay, tip my hat to you, the last guy on the list, and the last guy of the episode of today. How do you like that?
Very nice.
I thought we were going to get into most passing yards ever. And I could like spout some Dan Fouts action.
Dan Fouts is on that list, by the way. He's third.
But yeah, let's see this list.
It's a gross list.
Awesome.
Awesome. Man. Yeah. This is one of the lists of all time right here.
Would you have gotten Rich Gannon?
Eventually, I feel like I would have gotten Rich Gannon. I'm more concerned about Dave Krieg.
Oh, Dave Craig.
See, I don't even know who he is, and I pronounced his name wrong.
Seahawks quarterback in the 80s.
Makes sense.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be all for
Zorn.
today. We've got. We'll see everybody. For everybody in the chat right now, we'll be in Las Vegas this weekend at the NBA Summer League, which should be very exciting. If any of you are in Las Vegas, you can come hang out with us. And me, when I take over, maybe we can go check out the Raiders Stadium while we're there.
Yeah, Allegiant Stadium. Get a tour.
Yeah.
See if Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins want to hang out.
Yeah, I'm sure they hang out at the stadium, in Vegas. So
yeah, all the time.
Awesome. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Zach, get ready for NFC East. It's going to be an Armageddon next week.
I'm more than ready.
Bye.